Imagine you are booking a trip to this like pristine, ecologically fragile destination.
Mm.
Maybe it's a remote coral reef or, a centuries-old village tucked into a mountain range. Usually we think of artificial intelligence in this scenario as just the invisible travel agent.
Right, like the algorithm hunting down cheap flights.
Exactly, or the thing giving us real-time Google Maps traffic updates on the way to the airport. But a really fascinating academic chapter by researchers Usby, Shahan, and Zorlu suggests something, well, far more radical.
Yeah, it completely flips the script.
It does, because what if AI isn't just planning your itinerary? What if it's acting as the central brain to actually save the destination itself? So, welcome to today's deep dive.
Thanks. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, we are exploring the surprising intersection of cutting-edge AI, service robots, and this revolutionary concept called regenerative tourism.
It's a really critical intersection to examine too. Because if you travel, or honestly, even if you just live in a city that sees a steady influx of tourists, you are unknowingly participating in this massive, shifting ecosystem.
You really are.
And we're looking at a fundamental change in how technology might rewrite the impact our travel has on the places we love to visit. It's not just about making travel more convenient anymore, It's about fundamentally altering the footprint we leave behind.
Right, because I think, most people listening to this want to be responsible travelers.
Oh, absolutely.
You go to a beautiful place, you try not to litter, maybe you reuse your hotel towel instead of having it washed every single day.
The classic hotel towel sign.
Yeah. And you stay on the marked hiking trails. For a long time, that was sort of the gold standard, wasn't it? Sustainable tourism.
It was. But this research paper completely disrupts that idea.
It really does. It argues that being a quote-unquote sustainable tourist is just no longer enough. So we have to start there, I think, before we even touch the technology side of things.
Yeah, because the very definition of a good tourist is undergoing a massive paradigm shift right now.
Exactly. So let's unpack that.
Well, the shift is basically moving from sustainability to regeneration. If we look at the underlying philosophy of traditional sustainable tourism, it's essentially a net zero goal.
Just keeping things level.
Exactly. The primary directive is to do no harm. You're trying to minimize your negative impact, preserve the status quo of the location, and just avoid depleting the natural resources any further than they already have been.
Okay, let me see if I can put a metaphor to this. So sustainable tourism feels a bit like going on a camping trip and making absolutely sure you pack out all your trash.
Right. You leave the campsite exactly as you found it.
Yeah. But regenerative tourism sounds like going on that exact same camping trip, packing out your trash, but also spending 3 days planting 100 native trees. Or like clearing an invasive weed species and rebuilding a washed-out trail before you head home.
That captures the transition perfectly, actually. Because reducing harm to an acceptable level, well, it doesn't fix the damage that has already been done by decades of mass tourism.
Right. The damage is already there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So regenerative tourism goes beyond that net zero impact to create a net positive effect. It aims to revitalize and actively improve the ecological and social systems. So the destination actually flourishes because you visited.
That's a huge shift in mindset.
It really is.
Yeah.
The researchers cite Buckton and colleagues here, who describe this shift as moving from a mechanistic worldview to a systems thinking approach.
A mechanistic worldview meaning like we view a destination as just a machine or a collection of parts.
Precisely. Like in a mechanistic view, a beach is just a sandbox for human recreation. A forest is just a scenic backdrop for an Instagram photo.
Sure.
You view the destination merely as a raw material deposit designed entirely for human enjoyment. Systems thinking, however, demands that we view the destination as a complex living partner. It's a dynamic where, as the literature states, life begets life.
Life begets life. Wow. The text actually brings up the Aotearoa New Zealand model as a real-world example of this, specifically focusing on their concept of stewardship.
Oh yeah, the New Zealand model is fascinating.
In that model, tourism isn't an instrument to exploit a landscape. It's positioned as an instrument that actively contributes to the environmental and cultural well-being of the area. It's supposed to mimic nature's own capacity for self-renewal, right?
Yeah, and that requires a fundamental rewiring of how the whole industry operates. Under the New Zealand model, the environment is often recognized not just as property, but as a living entity with its own rights.
Which is such a different legal and cultural framework.
Totally. The tourism industry's role becomes one of a guardian. So the revenue, the foot traffic, the cultural exchange, all of it must be channeled back into strengthening the health of the host community and the local ecosystem.
Okay, but I have to pause and challenge the mechanics of this, though.
Sure, go for it.
Because on paper, life begets life sounds beautiful. But the tourism industry is structurally built on massive resource consumption. I mean, we are flying on planes that burn thousands of gallons of jet fuel.
Right.
We're constructing these sprawling hotel complexes that require incredible amounts of water and electricity. We generate literal tons of solid waste.
Oh, the waste is staggering.
Right. So how does a net positive vacation actually work in reality? How do we build a system that actively heals an environment while still processing millions of tourists?
Well, that is the core dilemma driving this entire field of research. A philosophy of loving the environment no matter how well-intentioned is simply not enough to counteract the sheer scale of the global tourism machine.
It's just too big.
Exactly. And that's why the researchers argue that regenerative tourism absolutely requires high-tech intervention. You cannot manage that level of complexity without a highly coordinated technological ecosystem.
Okay.
But to grasp how that ecosystem functions, the literature insists we first have to define the difference between smart technology and intelligence.
Which is interesting because we use those terms interchangeably all the time. Smartphone, smart home, artificial intelligence. Where's the dividing line when we're talking about saving a destination?
Right, so smart technology generally refers to devices that can adapt to specific functions or respond to particular predefined circumstances.
Like the thermostat.
Perfect example. Think of a sensor in a smart hotel room. If you open the balcony door, the sensor detects the change and automatically shuts off the air conditioning to save energy.
Got it.
It gathers data and reacts based on a hard-coded rule. Intelligence, however, refers to higher cognitive functions. The researchers actually point back to John McCarthy, who first proposed the concept in 1955 as the science of making intelligent machines.
So intelligence implies the ability to actually reason, to learn from past experiences and make informed, complex decisions rather than just triggering a programmed response.
Exactly. Smart technology is the sensory nervous system gathering the data. Intelligence is the brain understanding what to do with it. And the researchers mapped this relationship out into a really fascinating, continuous, four-step cycle that drives regenerative tourism.
Right, and it starts with input, the Internet of Things or IoT.
Yes, the sensory nervous system.
Yeah.
Imagine thousands of small, interconnected sensors placed throughout a vulnerable destination. They're constantly gathering massive streams of data.
On what exactly?
Air quality, the water levels in local aquifers, the real-time biodiversity status of a coral reef, and even the physical mobility patterns of the tourists themselves.
Wow.
And this web of smart sensors creates what the industry calls a digital twin of the destination.
Okay, I want to make sure you listening to this can picture what that means. Because a digital twin is essentially a highly detailed virtual replica of a physical place that updates in real time. So every time you use a digital check-in kiosk, or walk past a crowd monitoring camera in a public square, or even connect your phone to a city's public Wi-Fi, you are actively feeding data into this hidden digital twin.
You're making invisible problems visible. But a digital twin alone is just a massive ocean of raw information.
Right, it doesn't do anything on its own.
Exactly. And this is where artificial intelligence steps in as the processor, the brain. The AI analyzes the digital twin to make proactive decisions. The chapter highlights how generative AI, like ChatGPT, can be used to predict overcrowding at a popular site before a bottleneck even forms.
Wait, how does it actually predict that? It's not just looking at a camera and saying, oh, there are too many people here right now.
No, it correlates multiple data streams.
Yeah.
The AI looks at historical foot traffic for that specific Tuesday, checks the current weather patterns, monitors the volume of public transit arrivals, and might even scan real-time social media hashtags.
That's incredible.
Right. It synthesizes all of that to realize a massive surge of tourists is going to hit a fragile ecological zone in exactly 45 minutes.
And once it predicts that surge, it can intervene. The AI could instantly update digital signage across the city or send push notifications through a local travel app, diverting tourists to lesser-known alternative routes.
Exactly.
So it protects the sensitive ecosystem from being trampled while simultaneously giving the tourists a less crowded, better experience.
And that leads directly to the next phase of the ecosystem, implementation. Once the AI makes a decision, it needs physical agents to execute the tasks. This is where we see the integration of service robots and self-service technology, or SST.
the hands of the operation. So we're talking about automated luggage handlers, robotic floor scrubbers in massive hotel kitchens, systems that automate complex supply chain logistics.
Yeah, they take on the heavy operational burden.
Yeah.
In the literature, these are often described as the dirty, dangerous, or boring jobs.
The 3Ds, right?
Yeah. And by handing those highly repetitive or physically taxing tasks over to automation, a crucial shift happens. You free up the human workforce.
And this is supposed to be the utopian outcome, right? If the smart sensors are the eyes, the AI is the brain, and the robots are the hands, what are the humans supposed to be doing?
Well, the researchers argue this frees human workers to focus exclusively on heart-centered work.
Heart-centered work, what does that look like?
It's the foundation of the regenerative experience. It encompasses empathy, art, education, cultural care, and genuine hospitality.
The human stuff.
Exactly. The things that build an authentic connection between the local host and the visiting tourist. The technological ecosystem is designed to handle the mechanics seamlessly in the background, specifically so humans have the time and energy to handle the emotional connection in the foreground.
Okay, but wait, I have to push back on this division of labor.
Oh, how so?
Well, the text mentions that the first chatbot, Eliza, was developed back in 1966 to act as a psychotherapist.
Oh, right, the Eliza Project.
Yes. So if we've had chatbots trying to empathize for nearly 60 years, are people really still this resistant to tech in hospitality? I mean, I use the self-checkout at the grocery store all the time because it's faster.
Sure.
When I'm at an airport, I prefer mobile check-ins specifically so I don't have to talk to anyone at a desk. In our daily lives, we constantly choose digital efficiency over human interaction. So are travelers really that attached to human receptionists, or is this heart-centered work just an outdated mindset?
That is a highly relevant question, and it's
Yeah.
exactly what the researchers wanted to test in the field.
Oh, really?
Yeah. To see if this utopian balance actually works in practice, they conducted a qualitative field study. They sat down for semi-structured interviews with 10 different managers of five-star thermal hotels.
Okay, so high-end luxury environments.
Exactly. Places that prioritize wellness and premium guest experiences.
And the researchers actually mapped the interview transcripts into a word cloud, right?
Yeah.
To see which concepts dominated the manager's thinking.
They did.
And words like regenerative, intelligence, tourist, administrative, and field were the most prominent. It shows that these managers are totally fluent in the philosophy. They genuinely want their hotels to be regenerative.
They absolutely support the goal.
Mm-hmm.
But their view on how AI and physical robots actually fit into a five-star environment is vastly more conservative than a tech optimist might predict.
Interesting.
When you dig into the qualitative data, you uncover this massive clash between high-tech efficiency and human empathy.
Yeah, I remember one manager in the study literally referred to AI as just a smart Excel.
Which is incredibly telling. They view AI strictly as a complementary administrative tool. It's fantastic for predicting seasonal demand, optimizing the building's energy grid, or running competitor price analyses.
So background stuff.
Exactly. They see it as a brilliant back-office assistant to lighten the cognitive load of management, but they firmly resist putting it on the front lines to interact with guests.
And when the researchers asked about deploying physical robots to interact with guests, the pushback was intense.
Oh, yeah. Very intense.
Because the primary roadblock wasn't cost or technical glitches, it was a fundamental lack of emotional intelligence.
In a luxury hospitality setting, the core product is not just a bed to sleep in. It is empathy.
Right.
A robot, no matter how advanced its sensors are, cannot genuinely read a guest's micro-expressions. It can't sense if a traveler walking through the lobby is deeply stressed from a delayed flight or maybe traveling for a somber family event and needs a nuanced, comforting tone.
Wow, yeah, that makes total sense. There is a quote from the source material that just anchors this entire concept. One of the managers bluntly stated, "Human is beautiful with human. A warm, sincere welcome is also beautiful with people."
That's a great quote.
I mean, think about checking into a high-end luxury resort. Do you want seamless, perfectly silent robotic efficiency? Or do you crave the warmth of a human concierge who sincerely asks how your journey was?
Well, the data overwhelmingly shows that for a five-star experience, guests require the latter. People perceive robots as highly suitable for background tasks, carrying luggage, cleaning the pool at night.
Right.
But managers are deeply skeptical of deploying them in any area requiring human judgment, nuance, and genuine emotion. Simulating empathy and genuinely providing it are two entirely different things.
Which makes sense. If regenerative tourism is trying to build a deep, meaningful connection between the visitor and the local culture, outsourcing that connection to a machine just completely defeats the
It
purpose.
actively undermines it.
Yeah.
The researchers warn that excessive automation risks mechanizing the entire travel experience. If you remove the human touch, you dehumanize the interaction.
Yeah.
And this leads to social isolation and erodes the shared cultural values that regenerative tourism is explicitly trying to foster.
Okay, I want to pivot here because this is where the research gets incredibly complex. Here's where it gets really interesting, honestly.
Oh, definitely.
The limitations of this technology go far beyond a robot being awkward at the reception desk. As we move into the final section of this study, we uncover hidden systemic costs to AI, costs that actively contradict the core mission of healing the destination.
Yeah, the literature refers to this as the technological paradox, and it's a massive structural flaw in the model.
Right.
Remember the ultimate goal. Regenerative tourism wants to restore nature and empower local communities. But the digital tools we are using to achieve that, artificial intelligence, large language models, massive IoT data centers, they require staggering amounts of energy.
It's like using a bulldozer to plant a delicate flower.
That is a perfect way to put it.
I mean, the tech sector claims to provide environmental efficiency by optimizing travel routes and managing energy grids. But that digital cloud isn't actually in the sky.
No, it's not.
It is made of massive physical server farms that require immense industrial infrastructure, constant cooling, and heavy reliance on fossil fuels.
That's the environmental side of the paradox. The carbon footprint required to train and continuously run these complex AI models is enormous.
Yeah.
So the environmental cost of digitalizing a destination might actually increase overall carbon emissions, which directly cancels out the goal of restoring the natural ecosystem.
So we are burning massive amounts of fossil fuels to run an AI model that tells us how to save a local forest. Aren't we just robbing Peter to pay Paul here?
Not much.
How do we balance that equation? And the environmental cost is only half of the dark side of digitalization. The study also dives into the risks posed to social systems, specifically focusing on algorithmic bias.
Right, because algorithms are not objective. They are trained on massive historical data sets, and they're mathematically designed to optimize for specific outcomes, usually maximum engagement or maximum profit.
Right.
Because they learn from existing data, they inherently reflect and amplify the biases hidden within that data.
Let's walk through how this actually plays out on the ground. Imagine an AI system is integrated into a city's smart tourism app, actively directing tourist traffic.
Okay.
Because the algorithm is optimized to generate revenue or highlight places with the most digital engagement, it's going to prioritize directing people to high-spending luxury boutiques, massive international hotel chains, or heavily trafficked mainstream cultural sites.
And by doing so, it systematically marginalizes everything else. Small, family-owned local businesses, indigenous cultural centers, or minority communities suddenly lose their digital visibility.
They just disappear.
Essentially, yeah. If the AI doesn't direct foot traffic to them, they cease to exist in the modern tourist's ecosystem.
The researchers actually use a very specific, heavy term for this: technological colonialism.
It's a strong term, but it fits.
Right. Think about a 300-year-old artisan shop tucked down a side street. It doesn't have a massive marketing budget to generate digital engagement, so the AI algorithm effectively erases it from the map, replacing it with a new luxury store that knows how to play the SEO game.
Exactly.
Instead of empowering the local community, the technology ends up serving a narrow, highly commercialized version of the destination.
Which ties directly into another major risk identified in the chapter: the commodification of local stories.
Oh, this part was fascinating.
Right. Regenerative tourism relies on preserving deep, nuanced, authentic, local narratives. That's how a visitor connects with the soul of a place. But AI systems operate by standardizing data. They need information in neat, recognizable patterns.
But living culture is not neat.
Exactly.
It is messy, complex, and deeply emotional. When you feed a rich, multi-generational cultural history into an AI system to be processed for a tourist app, the algorithm just strips away the nuance. It standardizes the history so it can be easily categorized and consumed.
It turns a living cultural heritage into just another digital product on a screen. You lose the emotional context.
Yeah.
This really proves that a traditional scientific management approach, the instinct to break everything down into separate, optimized digital parts, it just fails when applied to something as complex and uniquely human as a cultural ecosystem.
You cannot optimize a culture the way you optimize a supply chain.
You really can't.
And that reveals the core tension of this entire deep dive. Technology has an incredible, almost magical power to monitor environmental health, predict crowds, and handle the heavy logistical lifting.
True.
But if we allow it to override the human element, it destroys the very social fabric that regenerative tourism is desperately trying to repair.
It's a delicate balancing act. AI and smart technologies must be strictly utilized as supporting infrastructure. They are the background architecture that allows the destination to function sustainably.
Right.
But the human touch, the empathy, the sharing of an authentic local story, the warm welcome, all of that must remain the uncompromised core of the experience.
So what does this all mean for you the next time you pack your bags and head to a new destination? Let's synthesize what we've uncovered today.
Sounds good.
AI, IoT sensors, and smart technologies are absolutely brilliant background brains. They are essential for operational efficiency, for predicting the flow of crowds, and for monitoring the invisible environmental health of the places we visit.
Right. They do the heavy lifting of massive data analysis that humans simply cannot process.
Exactly, but they are terrible frontline hearts. To truly regenerate a destination, to ensure that the local community and the ecosystem are actually better off because you visited, the technology has to stay in the background.
Yeah. You can use an algorithm to flawlessly optimize a hotel's energy grid, but you cannot use an algorithm to optimize the feeling of being genuinely welcomed by a local host.
Keep the machines in the background and keep the humans in the foreground. It seems like the only way forward if we actually want to save these destinations.
I agree completely.
But I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over on your own, a concept that builds on everything we just discussed.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
We know that today's service robots and AI models fail at emotional intelligence. They feel mechanical, which is exactly why we crave authentic human hospitality. But think about the rapid trajectory of this technology.
Right, it's moving so fast.
What happens a decade from now? What happens when AI and robotics become so incredibly advanced that they can perfectly mimic human empathy?
Oh, wow. That is a profound dilemma for the future of travel.
Right. Imagine a scenario where a highly advanced robot in a hotel lobby can instantly read your micro-expressions as you walk through the door. It analyzes your vocal tone, cross-references your travel data, and delivers a flawlessly warm, highly personalized greeting that makes you feel completely, deeply understood.
And if the simulation is that perfect, does the authenticity of the human touch still matter?
Exactly. Is the perfect illusion of empathy enough to make us feel welcome? Or do we fundamentally, biologically require another actual human being to feel connected to a new place?
That's a huge question.
As AI continues to act as the invisible agent shaping our physical world, it is a question we are all going to have to answer for ourselves.